We have CSS rules to redefine HTML tags and to redefine our HTML. But more importantly, I'm going to say we have CSS selectors. And there are three basic types of CSS selectors that you use to redefine your HTML. And actually, I'm going to say there are four types, but it's a little early to bring in that fourth type. So let's go back to Bob. Bob, age, city, sex. Well, yes, of course, we can't really use Bob, kind of, sort of, in our CSS for HTML. So let's look at our three types of selectors. Three types of things that you can redefine in CSS. Now, here's Bob up here, but our first CSS selector would be redefining any HTML tag. That's where the brainwashing comes in. The H1 tag, which is a heading 1 tag, is used like, when you highlight some text in Dreamweaver, then you select the H1 property out of the properties panel, and it makes the text big, bold, and black. The H1 tag is very popular and powerful in search engines because if you apply an H1 tag to it, Google thinks it's an important group of words. But big, bold, and black doesn't always cut it, so maybe you want to make an H1 tag green and small and put a drop shadow under it. So you could redefine the H1 tag. You can redefine any tag in HTML. So to make that happen, you would just say H1, which is the selector, open a curly brace, and then put in maybe a color, a font, whatever. That's how you use the HTML tag as a selector. The second type of selector is a class. And don't get hung up on the names right now. A class, you'll see, because we're going to write code in the next series, in the next title. But a class, it might be a font definition, it might be a box that you're putting text in, it might be a box that you're putting images in, but a class always starts with a period. So that would be period Bob. And then you would go through the properties and the values of that properties after the class selector. The third and last type of selector is called an ID. # Bob would be an ID. # Bob. Now with a class, let's say you had some text and you were going to make the text green in this font here like the class word is. And maybe you're going to use that font definition 30 times in a web page or 30 times in one page. Classes can be used as many times as you want throughout a document. You can use a class.bob again and again and again. An ID can only be or should only be used one time in a document. And it starts with the #. And as you go from language to language, be it ActionScript, PHP, JavaScript, CSS, # are usually unique values, something that only happens once in a page. It's a unique identifier. So there you go. Now, this may seem really iffy or kind of screwy to you right now, but you can always come back to this video and kind of refresh yourself on the three different types of selectors in a CSS rule, and they are redefining HTML tags, defining classes, or defining IDs with the same syntax, with the selector name, curly brace, your property value, property value, property value, close that curly brace.